Got a terrible, terrible cold, so if you see me stop, slow down, and pat myself, I promise because it's cold and nothing. Good afternoon. What an honor it is for me to be able to address the class of 2021, my all-time absolute favorite year class. I mean, this class has been the most engaging, most spirited class. I think it was just, well, it was less than a week ago that you guys formed a new club. I didn't know what Kaplan must have signed off on. We have the Future Central Campers of America Club. Ended up on the practice field about midnight the other night, which then gave birth to another club, which is the Future Custodians Association. It's an inside joke. About 20 people got, but the ones that got it know what I'm saying. Anyway, each of the previous 6 years that I've done this, I've always shared with the graduates the same thing that I preach to my own children. The only thing this year that's different is that my very favorite son is actually out there in the crowd among. You know what? Just go ahead right now. Look at your watches and your phones. You can get in the action. My wife, Ashley, daughter, Alexa, son, Joseph, they've got a little wager going that I'm not going to make it past the 3-minute mark without choking up. So give it a try. All right, deep breath. Go. There is an incredible group of human beings that we owe so much to. And this group is very sadly disappearing very, very fast. They're the Americans of the World War II era, known to us as the greatest generation. They're the ones credited with saving the world from tyranny, the ones who saved Europe from devastation after the war through the Marshall Plan, the ones who rebuilt Japan, the ones who are credited with transforming modern America into the world's greatest superpower. Greatest generation. Were they flawed? Yeah. Did they fall short in some areas of equal rights? Yes. Just like us, just like all human beings, they were imperfect, but they were special. They gave us a solid footing on which to continue improving as a nation, continue our quest to evolve into a more perfect union. America is an unfinished experiment for sure, but thanks to them, our country sits upon an incredibly solid foundation in spite of what social media and news outlets tell us. It's because of them that we live in a nation, in a community, in a school system where we have immense advantages over the rest of the world. And we should be thankful that this imperfect but greatest of generations provided us the means to get. Now, what does any of that have to do with you guys? I need to get to that point again. Think about this. The babies or the young people that became known as the greatest generation, they were born into a world pandemic called the Spanish flu. That generation suffered through and survived living through the Great Depression, and they faced down tyranny in World War II. In other words, they faced a childhood and early lifetime of incredible adversity. So how about the class of 2021? You guys were born into and survived the global war on terror. You are currently, you and your families suffered through and survived the Great Recession. And as we've already heard, we are currently facing down the world's worst pandemic in over 100 years. So like the greatest generation, you have already survived some unimaginable adversity yourself. In fact, you've been challenged like no other generation since then. They say that great times make great men and women. Well, you, my friends, are living in a major league historic time period that come true. So, and this is not a platitude or a cliche, but you guys, the class of 2021, you truly can become the next greatest generation of American leaders. You can fulfill the mission of Forsyth Central and become healthy and productive problem solvers, effective communicators, and selfless servants. Unlike the greatest generation, you guys, this generation of graduates, are already considered among the most environmentally conscious and mission-oriented group of young people our nation has ever produced. You are far beyond the World War II era in the realm of racial awareness and understanding the importance of inclusion and demonstrating a desire for equal opportunity for all. Those characteristics, while highly enlightened, are not enough, though. Surviving all that you have faced is in itself not enough. There are some additional lessons that we can learn from the greatest generation that, combined with what you've already been through, can lead you to restore the American dream. And make no mistake about it, belief in the concept of the American dream is under attack right now. You guys are either about to be employed, enlisted, or enrolled. So here, drawn from the wisdom of the greatest generation, is my parting advice as you move forward. Jordan Peterson, some of you may know, had 12 rules for life. Uncle Mitch has just about 6. You can count along. I've got 6 do's and don'ts for you that I've been preaching to my own son throughout the year. All right, here we go. Number 1, be grateful. You were blessed with great advantages. Even those of you who are hurting right now are blessed. You are leaving here today with a high school diploma from the Forsyth County school system, which means you have options, and options equal advantage. You didn't do it all by yourself. Thank your parents, thank your guardians, thank your teachers, your counselors, your coaches, your friends, whoever those folks were that pushed you and pulled you across the stage today. Gratitude was a hallmark of the greatest generation, and if ever there was a group of people that should have expected credit, it was them, but they refused it. They never looked to receive accolades or honors. They always thanked others. They always gave credit. That's gratitude. So as you walk out of here today, be grateful. Number 2, be humble. Those men and women who battled in the trenches, who nursed armless and legless warriors back to life, these heroes and sheroes, they never bragged. I could get neither Harold Mitchell nor Paul Young, my grandfathers, to ever talk about their World War II heroic. They did what they had to do, and they moved on to the next challenge. They exuded humility. So, what do your posts or your snaps suggest about your character? Do they display humility? Or do they make others feel a little bit less than? Are you going to use them to encourage and inspire, or to insult and attack? Please, guys, be intentional with your communication, whatever the form, and be humble. Number 3, focus on fulfillment more than happiness. Another characteristic that made the greatest generation so special was their complete understanding that we are entitled to nothing. To nothing. They recognized that our founding documents promise life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Pursuit being the key word. Happiness itself is not a guarantee. It doesn't just happen. It isn't something to expect. We were promised an equal opportunity to pursue, not an equality of outcome. So when you stand with your arm extended and your hand stretched out, let there be something in that hand that you are offering to others. Do not constantly reach out with hand opened, expect others to do something in it for you. As they taught us, when you live a life of giving, when you make your life about serving others, you will gain something far, far greater than happiness. You will gain fulfillment. Number 4, and I could make a whole day out of this one, but I'll try to. Number 4, stop canceling and start engaging with one another. It has taken a long, long time for women and minority groups to begin participating in the American dream. Too long for sure. We are, despite noise that we hear daily on social media and in the news, we are continuing to make progress in the hearts and minds of our countrymen. But unfortunately, the fastest way to impede any progress is to cancel one another, to cut anybody off because we disagree with them. And both sides of the political spectrum are guilty of it. This is not a one-sided issue. Instead, and you guys have heard me talk about this at school, instead, seek out those with different views, seek out those who are different than us. Demonstrate some empathy by trying to understand life from their experiences before launching into your own opinion. engage them in conversation, and seek to find things you have in common. Commonalities, common experiences are harder to find than just pointing out differences. Seeing differences is easy. But when you take the time to find common ground, when you listen to understand, then growing can begin. Then you begin laying the foundation for a relationship. The greatest generation defeated tyranny and contained communism. They won with great character, unmatched work ethic, and superior weapons. You can win today's battles with great character, with a great work ethic, and instead of weapons, with your word. If you want to be the generation that ends racism, that ends sexism, that ends homophobia, and all of you have talked about this, then I need you to simply accept this challenge, the small starting point. Stop rudism. R-U-D-E, rudism. In your post, Snap, and the memes that you like, counter at McDonald's, in the car as you're leaving here today, just stop being rude to one another. Nobody is going to challenge your motives when you're being nice, when you're treating others respectfully. And on the flip side, you are never going to win someone over to your side of the argument or in a debate by outrooting them. Spend your energy being kind, actively listen, and seek first to understand each other. That's engagement. You will be surprised, by the way, at how much you can gain by just treating others the way you want to be. All right, so guys, go engage, stop canceling. Number 5, be committed to our country. The greatest generation understood that they were fighting for something greater than themselves. They believed and fought for the idea of America. And yes, we have miles to go. America's past flaws and injustices need to be acknowledged and reconciled. Our teaching of history must be expanded to include the contributions of far more people than it has. And we must continue to strive to make certain that everyone feels safe and everyone feels included in our schools and in our communities. That is all true. That's a focus we've got to continue to have. But so too are these truths, and I don't want these to be overlooked. Nowhere else in the world has a nation been founded on the principle of continuous improvement. No other constitution in world history until the United States of America's was built to be amended as its citizens evolved in order to expand freedoms and equality of opportunity. There's been no group of people in the history of the world who have ever engaged in acts of sacrifice for unselfish reasons and causes greater than themselves more often than Americans have. When many of you get onto college campuses this fall, this is where the emails will maybe come in. Send them directly to me, please. Right? When you get on those college campuses this fall, you're going to be told by some to be ashamed of your country. Instead of a better balanced view of history, you're going to encounter many professors and groups who urge you to completely focus on nothing but America's flaws and ignore the goodness that has and still exists. You're going to be told alternatives like communism and socialism are the answer. Now, without being rude, remember that from a couple bullet points ago, without being rude, respectfully remind these professors and these folks of these realities. Communism has been a failure wherever it has been tried. There are no caravans or flotillas of migrants headed for Venezuela or Cuba. There is no mass collection of freedom fighters clamoring to cross the borders and go into North Korea. The United States of America is still the best offer of hope to the rest of the world, and don't forget it. Now, to those folks who meet on the complete opposite end of the political spectrum, those who deny that we have any flaws, those who forgot their own family's heritage, remind them that nearly all of us in the USA are or were at one time in our family's history immigrants. We came here or choose to stay here for the four great common values that our founders laid out for us and that the greatest generation protected for us. Those four values of liberty, equality, economic opportunity, and the security of community. It's these four values blended together that make us Americans and that really comprise the American dream. They say society is run by those who show up, and I agree with that. It's now time for you guys to show up. So let's have honest debates and discussions around and within our shared values, and let's commit to building an even better America, not tear it down. And number six, have faith. If there's one lesson we've learned, just the greatest generation learned during their time period, it's that crisis reveals character. This global pandemic, sorry, Queenie Benson, if you're out there, I had to mention it just once. This global pandemic stopped the world in its tracks like nothing has since World War II. For some of us, the fear that gripped you was paralyzing. For many others among us, it was a time for our faith to be tested like no other period in our lives. For each of us, that faith may come in a different form. It may have been in science, it may have been in God, it may have been in something else. But whatever it is, when you recognize that there's a higher power out there and you have a faith that can rely upon it, you will find courage that is beyond your comprehension. And that is certainly what has carried me through these last 15 months. Perhaps a better case in point is our teachers. These teachers here at Central. I submit to you that our Forsyth County teachers will go down as the greatest generation of educators in our nation. They demonstrated a willingness last July and last August to run into the proverbial burning building. They demonstrated for you what sacrifice looks like up close, and I am so proud to be associated with them. Our Forsyth County school leaders, led by this guy, Jeff Bearden, showed the world that we could and should carry on despite blowback and hateful commentary from around the country. He and our board members showed us and continue to show us doing the right thing is not always the easy or the popular thing, it's the right thing. So one question that we're all left with to reflect on is was it worth this journey we've been on? And you kind of have to think back to the fall. In the beginning of the school year, we thought, I just hope we can get to Labor Day. Then it was, oh my gosh, I hope we can get some games or concerts in this year. Then it was like, oh my gosh, can we make it to fall break? And on it went. Well, here we are. We've come through it together as a school system and as a community. Athletic seasons, check. Concerts and plays, check, check. Homecoming, senior nights, prom, check, check, check. Surviving the annoyance of 2, 3, 4 quarantines, checks all around. So was it worth it? Was it worth it? I think so. I truly do. Like the greatest generation, you've been tested now, and you have survived this round of challenges. Will you learn from them? Will we learn lessons from this whole experience we're going through right now that we'll be able to apply to our futures? That's going to be a choice for you guys to make. As we place a check next to our graduation ceremony today, let's remember what Emery said when she came up, that this ceremony is a beginning, not an end. And as Pratt so eloquently shared, life equals uncertainty. You're going to be tried again and again and again in your lives as you move forward. And how will you get through it? How will we get through our next existential threat? I believe, at least for me, is through faith. So I can assure you, if you move forward in your lives now and follow the 6 things I've laid out for you, if you choose to be grateful, if you choose to be humble, if you decide to focus on fulfillment rather than happiness, if you choose to engage rather than cancel, if you commit to making America an even better country, And if you put your faith in a power greater than yourself, then anything is indeed possible. You just might be remembered as the greatest generation of the 21st century. All right, I said there were 6. I'm going to add a 7th bullet point to this. One you've probably heard from time to time. Along this journey, you're going to face more challenges and you're going to have accomplishments. And when you beat those challenges back and when you get to those accomplishments, take time to celebrate. But when you do, keep in mind, you can have a good time without the drugs and alcohol. Call or text when you get where you're going. And remember, nothing good happens after midnight. I love you guys. I love you guys. May God bless you all. And at this time, Dr. Bearden, would you please join me? Dr. Bearden, I present to you Forsyth Central High School's 65th graduating class, the class of 2021. I assure you that these seniors have met all graduation requirements as set forth by the state of Georgia and the Forsyth County Schools Board of Education.
Parents, family and friends, faculty and staff, Forsyth County Board of Education, the Forsyth Central High School class of 2021. Let me take 1 second. Please join me in thanking Principal Mr. Mitch Young for his 7 years of service at Forsyth Central High School.